23 years ago at Camp David, Palestinian Liberation Organization chairman Yasser Arafat was watching the Major League Baseball All-Star game on TV. As a U.S. diplomat later recalled, Arafat asked at one point when the game would start. It was, in fact, already the fifth inning. I can see that happening. This little exchange, kind of funny, brought the sense of misunderstandings to come. The summit was only the second time in 40 years of U.S.-led efforts at brokering peace that an American president brought together Israeli and Arab leaders. In September of 1978, then-President Carter successfully brokered an historic peace treaty between Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin. But back to that two-week summit in July of 2000. It was the last 6 months of President Clinton's presidency, and he was eager to cement his legacy by solving the most intractable problem in the Middle East. And here's Clinton announcing the summit in the White House briefing room a week prior.
If the parties do not seize this moment, if they cannot make progress now, there will be more hostility and more bitterness, perhaps even more violence. And to what end?
But as the three leaders strolled together down a leafy Camp David road, they couldn't have been farther apart in their expectations for the summit. Ehud Barak, the young leftist Israeli prime minister, fresh off a series of failed negotiations with Syria, had pushed hard for that summit, arguing that it was, and I quote, a pressure cooker that would require him and Arafat to make real progress on a two-state solution. According to Aaron David Miller, an American diplomat who was at the negotiations, Barak's strategy was either to secure a deal or to expose Arafat as an unreliable partner. Barak was also feeling a different kind of pressure at home, given his increasing domestic unpopularity. His own government, in fact, began to unravel just as the summit was underway. Meanwhile, Yasser Arafat had constraints of his own, given his constituency's mistrust of Israel and his resentment of Barak's recent focus on Syria. Arafat was himself in no hurry to reach an agreement. He had warned President Clinton ahead of the summit that his side was not ready to come to the table, nor did he trust Barak to follow through on his promises. And given the United States' airtight relationship with Israel, Arafat was right to be suspicious. Clinton had, in fact, a no-surprise policy with Barak, which meant, in essence, that the summit's purported mediator showed everything first to the Israeli delegation. With Israel as a key ally, it's not like the United States was an honest broker. And in the end, despite Clinton's best efforts, Southern charm, and the summit's lovely setting, the talks did end in failure.
After 14 days of intensive negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians, I have concluded with regret that they will not be able to reach an agreement at this time. They couldn't get there. That's the truth. They couldn't get there.
The failed summit was followed by the Second Intifada in September, a violent Palestinian uprising in Israeli-occupied territories and in Israel itself. And while the Clinton White House continued to push for a peace deal until the last day of the administration, Arafat ultimately balked, and that was the end of that. Now today, Israelis and Palestinians are once again at war, and neither side is even entertaining the idea of peace talks, let alone engaging in long-term negotiations like those that were attempted in Camp David 2 decades ago. But if, as the saying goes, it's darkest before the dawn, well, maybe now is exactly the right time to talk about an enduring resolution to this conflict.